Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome back to E-commerce for Entrepreneurs. Today's October 11th, 2019. Um, Wednesday, we took chapters 1 through 5's midterm exam. I will have the grades back to you then posted this weekend as midterms are due Monday afternoon. So I will have all grades that are currently due will be uploaded this weekend. That'll be for all the homework assignments, the video reflections, and for the midterm exam. So, leading off with that, today we're going to start with Chapter 6. This moves into the third section of the book. Chapter 6 deals with e-commerce marketing and advertising concepts. Now, our learning objectives for this chapter is going to be to identify the key features of the internet audience, discuss the basic concepts of consumer behavior and purchasing decisions, understand how consumers behave online, identify and describe basic digital commerce marketing and advertising strategies and tools, and understand the costs and benefits of online marketing communications. And also, I want to say one more thing real quick before we get started into this chapter. My head just went blank. I apologize. But anyways, we'll go ahead and just get started. It'll come back to me. Let me shut this door. All right, here we go. So, Chapter 6. Once again, Chapter 6 is on e-commerce for marketing and advertising concepts. So now everyone knows what Facebook is. I'm sure everyone has a Facebook profile. So Facebook is going to provide an example of how new internet technologies and practices can disrupt and challenge existing industries. So now one area in particular that has been affected by this technology and these social platforms in particular is going to be that of marketing. So the marketing communications has greatly changed since all these social platforms and the internet has came about. Now the internet is going to afford marketers new ways of communications by contacting millions of potential customers at costs that are far lower than your normal traditional media. Now the internet is also going to provide new ways to gather information from customers, also adjusting product offerings and increase customer value. Now today the mobile platform is based on smartphones and tablet computers, and this is also transforming online marketing and communications once again. So now in this chapter, we're going to start by examining consumer behavior on the web, the major types of online marketing and branding, and the technologies that support advances in online marketing. Then we're going to shift our focus on online marketing communications and then taking a look at various online advertising methods and strategies. So let's get started here on 6.1, Consumers Online, the Internet Audience and Consumer Behavior. Now before firms can begin to sell their products online, they first have to understand what kinds of people that they're going to find online and how these people actually behave in the online marketplace. So what are some internet traffic patterns making up the online consumer profile? So the first principle of marketing and sales is going to be to know the customer. So we really want to just hone in and know what the characteristics and traits and habits of our customers are. Now, although the number of online users has grown rapidly for the internet in the earlier years from in the early 2000s, the growth rate here recently has actually slowed to like 2 or 3% a year. Now, where am I getting at with the growth rate of internet? Before these telecommunications companies and these internet companies, the .com companies, they could rely, the revenue was heavily dependent upon the fact that there was high growth rates in these in the internet, that more and more users were actually getting on the internet annually. So therefore, they didn't have to really have a business model that would try to make revenue grow, or to try to earn revenue as much, because they knew just by nature of more people using the internet that the revenue was going to come, because there was going to be more bodies and more people using the internet. But with that actually slowing down now, the growth slowing down, now it's making a little more difficult for these firms to actually create revenue, and having to actually create new business models to try to produce that revenue and generate that revenue, other than just relying on more and more people actually joining the internet. So that leads us into the topic of intensity and scope of usage. So the slowing rate of growth in the U.S. internet population is going to be compensated or offset by an increasing intensity and scope of use. So studies show that a greater amount of time is being spent online by internet users. So obviously, the more time users spend online and become more comfortable and familiar with the internet features and services, then obviously the more likely they're going to actually explore and then to use these services, and hopefully go on and make purchases on these e-commerce sites. So even though the amount of people coming onto it, new users on the internet, is slowing down, the users that are actually currently already using the internet are using it more often and for longer periods of time. So it does kind of compensate for the sloth and the growth rate. So people who go online are engaging in a wider range of activities than in the past. Now, email and using search engines are obviously still the most widely used service that's performed on the web. Now, other popular activities include visiting social network sites like Facebook, or even researching products or services, or catching up on news, or whatever it might be. Some hobbies, catching up on sports news, whatever it is. You can use the internet for anything. So, and obviously that is becoming a trend, because obviously we know we're moving more towards a web-based society, obviously, as technology gets better and better. So what about the demographics and access to the internet? So the demographic profile of the internet and e-commerce has changed greatly since 1995. Now, up until about 2000, mostly single, white, and young college-educated males with high incomes dominated the internet. But however, in recent years, there's been a marked increase in internet usage by females, minorities, seniors, and families with modest incomes. So obviously this is going to decrease that big threshold that we had, or divide, on who is actually using the internet based upon demographics. So the people least likely to go online are going to be senior citizens, adults with less than high school education, and those living in households and earning less than $30,000 a year, which makes sense. So the least educated you are, and the least you know about, or the less you know about a technology or the internet, obviously the least likely you're going to be able to use it, or even want to use it, or even be interested in using it, really. And obviously, if you make less money, then the chances of you using it are going to be less, because you're not going to have access to these smartphones or these tablets or PCs that actually connect to the internet. So it makes sense. There's a direct correlation between the earnings and the age and education here. So let's just take a look here at gender. How does gender play a role in the access to the internet? So an equal percentage, roughly 85% of both men and women use the internet today. And this is in contrast to about 10 years ago, whereas a higher percentage of women actually use the internet than men do. But now it's about the same. About roughly 85% of both men and women use the internet. Now, what about the age factor? So young adults ranging from about 18 to 29 years of age are the highest percentage of internet use, at roughly 96%. So 96% of people of age 18 to 29 years of age are using the internet. Adults in the age group of 30 to 49 make up about 93% of those people are strongly represented in the population of using the internet. So what about ethnicity? Let's look at ethnicity. So variation across ethnic groups really is not wide across the age groups. So book says here that in 2012 the user participation by whites was 86%, African Americans was 86%, and Hispanics was 80%. So the growth rates for both Hispanics and African Americans from 2002 to 2010 is higher than for whites, which also helped close this gap of where the single white educated higher earner individuals were the ones with the internet. So that too has helped close the gap here. We can see more and more groups of people from all different demographics, different earnings, different educations using this internet as obviously it becomes cheaper because it's more readily available, more products and services are out there. So just by supply and demand, obviously it's going to drive prices down. So it makes sense why we're seeing this change. So how about next we'll look at the income level. So about 99% of households with income levels of about 75,000 have internet access. Now that's compared to only 75% of households earning less than 30,000. But income is not really significantly related to the exposure or hours using the internet. So what about education? The amount of education is also going to make a significant difference when it comes to online access. So in general, educational disparities far exceed other disparities in internet access and usage. And overall, there remains a strong relationship between age, income, ethnicity, and education on one hand, and internet usage on the other. So gender, income, education, age, and ethnicity also impact online behavior. Women are slightly more likely to purchase online than men, and online banking is more popular with men than women. So we can see, based upon what service or what type of task that they're performing online is going to be higher in some percentages of gender than it is in other percentages of gender. So, and children of poor or less educated families are spending considerably more time using their access devices for entertainment than children from wealthier households. And what we're meaning for forms of entertainment for these children is movies, games, Facebooks, and texting. And a lot of times this is looked at as a waste of time. Because the majority of online use for the kids, for the young children, is usually used for entertainment and not education or learning. So although a lot of kids are on there, a lot of times it's not really being used. The time's not being spent wisely, although they can still learn from them. But most of the times it's just for fun and games. So let's now look at the type of internet connection. We know we have broadband versus the dial-up. So a great deal of progress has been made in reducing the gaps in access to the internet, but there are still some significant inequalities in access to broadband service. So broadband service is not available everywhere, not yet. That is the goal for broadband. If you recall from Chapter 3, that is the goal of the new internet project, is to make broadband accessible anywhere and at any time someone wants to access it. Now, research suggests that the broadband audience is going to be different from the dial-up audience. The broadband audience is more educated and more fluent in using the internet services. So the broadband audience is obviously going to be much more intensely involved with the internet and much more capable of using the internet. Now, what does this mean for marketers? So this audience offers unique opportunities for the marketers for the use of multimedia marketing campaigns and for the positioning of products especially suited for this audience. So the fact that these marketers know that these broadband users of the internet are much more affluent and much more educated and know how to navigate and use this internet, then obviously they're gonna target these people more often because they're the ones that are gonna be receptive of the message they're sending and be able to actually take advantage of it or actually use it and go through with making that purchase because they know how to navigate through these sites and use it to their advantage. So media choices and multitasking, the internet versus other media channels. So the more time individuals spend using the internet, then obviously the more time they turn their back on traditional media. Obviously, we're not omnipresent here. We can't be two places at once. Sometimes we can multitask, and sometimes we can't. So that's what we're meaning here. Obviously, the more time you spend on one thing, less time you have spent doing another thing. So obviously, the more time we spend on the internet, less time we have for traditional media. Now, traditional media is competing with the internet for consumer attention, and so far the internet appears to be gaining on the print media, but not on television. This makes sense, obviously, because internet media, obviously, these presses, these newspaper presses and stuff are definitely taking a downturn on their revenues and their market shares as these internets are more readily available, the internet news and media, but the television isn't. Television viewing has actually increased as the internet has grown in popularity. Media multitasking is rising. Over 100 million U.S. adult internet users watch television while going online. So here we go, multitasking. A lot of people in the evenings, if they're sitting there on their little tablet or laptop or smartphone, browsing or chatting on social media or whatever it might be, texting a friend, most times they're also watching a little TV show in the background or a little series or a football game or something for some background noise. But nonetheless, they are paying attention at different points and times at both devices. So multitasking makes measurement of media exposure difficult because people can expand their media time by using multiple medias at once. So what about some profiles of online consumers? Online consumer behavior parallels that of offline consumer behavior with some obvious differences. So it's important to first understand why people choose the internet to conduct transactions. If we take a look at Table 6.1 on page 213 of the text, it's going to list the main reasons consumers choose the online channel as opposed to the old brick and mortar. So let's take a look at Table 6.1, why consumers choose the online channel. We can see on the left side here, we have the reason, and on the right, the percentage of respondents. So I'm not going to really go through the whole list here. We'll go through about the first 3 or 4 of them and see the percentages, and we'll get the gist of it. And y'all can look through this on your own time. So some of the reasons: 24-hour shopping convenience, and the percentage of respondents is about 35.1%. Easier to compare prices, about 33.1%. Free shopping offers, 31.5%. No crowds like in mall or traditional stores, 30.8%. More convenience, no sales tax, better variety online, and so on and so forth. So we get the idea here of why consumers can choose the online channel as opposed to the old traditional malls and storefronts of the brick and mortar types. So what about the online purchasing decision? Once online, why do consumers actually purchase a product or service at a specific site? So table 6.2 on page 212 at the top of the page is actually going to list some of the most important factors that influence consumers' decisions to purchase online as opposed to your traditional malls or outlets, whatever it might be. So let's just take a quick look here at table 6.2, the factors that influence online purchase decisions. So once again, we can see here on the left-hand side of this table, we have the factor, and on the right-hand side, we have the percentage of respondents. So the first factor they list here is price. 95% of people responded on that one. Free shipping, 90%. Trusted seller status, 75%. Once again, name brand recognition is ringing there. No tax, online coupon availability, return policy, customer loyalty rewards program. So these are some of the factors that influence online purchase decisions. If you would just take some time on your free time to look at that table as well. Now the most important are the price and availability of free shipping, obviously. Because as we all know, price is very important to everybody. Everyone wants to get the best product or service that we can and obtain it at the lowest cost possible. Now, aside from individual characteristics, you also need to consider the process that buyers follow when making a purchase decision and how the internet environment affects consumers' decisions. Now, there's 5 stages in the consumer decision process. These 5 stages consist of the awareness of need, the search for more information, evaluation of alternatives, the actual purchase decision, and post-purchase contact with the firm. Now, figure 6.1 on page 214 at the bottom actually shows the consumer decision process. So let's take a look at that right for just a second. So figure 6.1, the consumer decision process and supporting communications. So if we see on the left here, it shows the market communications, and it goes across the top. We have the awareness, need recognition, search, evaluation of alternatives. So the ones we just listed just prior to looking at this figure here is what's going across the top. Those are your market communications. Then we have the offline communications and then the online communications that follows below. And then obviously moving to the right from each one of those types of communication shows the different types that is offered that via those types of communications. So let's take a look here. So the market communications of awareness, the need recognition for offline communications is going to be, so the need recognition, the awareness of these products are going to be, for offline is going to be mass media, the television, radio, print media, and social networks. Now, online communications for the awareness and the need recognition will be targeted banner ads, targeted event promotions, and social networks. What about the search capabilities for the market communications? For offline, we're going to have catalogs, print ads, mass media, salespeople, product raters, store visits, social networks. On the online communications for the search market communications, we're going to have search engines, online catalogs, site visits, targeted email, and social networks. So you get the gist of what this chart's showing with the consumer decision and process and supporting communications. Once again, I'm not going to read through all those. It is important to know these in the different forms versus offline and online communications that's relevant to these market communications. So if you could, once again, please take some free time when you're studying and look at figure 6.1 and make sure that you understand the consumer decision process. So obviously, as shown in figure 6.1, traditional mass media along with catalogs and direct mail campaigns are used to drive potential buyers to websites. So what's new about online purchasing is the new media marketing communications. What's new about online purchasing is the new media marketing communications capabilities that are afforded by the web. These are going to consist of search engines, social media such as blogs, social networks, and social shipping sites, online product reviews, video ads, targeted banner ads, and permission email, bulletin boards, chat rooms, and stuff of that sort. So simply put, the web offers marketers an increase in marketing communications tools and power, and ultimately the ability to envelop the consumer in a very rich information and purchasing environment. So the stages of the consumer decision process are basically the same whether the consumer is offline or online. So figure 6.2 is a model of online consumer behavior. So in this general model of online consumer behavior, the decision to purchase is shaped by the background demographic factors. So we can see that of the culture, social norms, psychological factors, and the background demographic factors. There's also several intervening factors, which can be the brand recognition, the marketing communication stimuli, the firm capabilities, website features, so stuff that we're already kind of used to from the offline factor from the regular shopping in brick and mortar stores is going to be the intervening factors, and also it's going to be influenced by clickstream behavior. We'll get into what clickstream behavior is here shortly. Pretty much it's just the behavior of following the patterns of what the users on the computers where they're clicking and showing that audit trail of their clickstream behavior, and then ultimately it's gonna lead to the precise moment of the purchase. So that's what Figure 6.2 is showing, the model of the online consumer behavior. So once again, it starts with some of the demographic factors, and then from there you're going to build on that with some of your name brand recognitions and stuff of that sort, which is known as the intervening factors. And then obviously we have the clickstream behavior and of showing the audit trail of where people are clicking and the trail of what sites they visit or ads they've clicked on, and that ultimately leads to the purchasing decision. So in the online model, website features, along with consumer skills, product characteristics, attitudes towards online purchasing, and perceptions about control over the web environment are all come to the forefront. So website features include latency, navigability, sorry about that, and confidence in a website's security. So why are these things of importance here with the navigability and confidence in a website security and latency? Why are we talking about this for the online consumer behavior? So if we think about it, let's relate this to the actual brick and mortar in-store environments here. So it's well known that the consumer behavior in these in-store environments, the old brick and mortars, can be influenced greatly by the design of the store or the layout of the products that you have for sale in the store. So by knowing the movements of these customers and throughout the physical store, we can enhance the sale of these goods or services by putting the promotions and placing these goods in strategic locations throughout the store, because we know that by the traits that the customers present, by the trails they take to these stores, we can help market them and target these products to where they're going to see them and be attracted to them and hopefully buy them. So the same thing relates. There's a direct correlation there with the online environment as well. So the site's latency, navigability, and confidence in that site's security is ultimately going to play a huge role in how these users navigate and use our sites. If it doesn't navigate smoothly, then chances are they're going to get frustrated and go elsewhere. If the security is poor and there's a risk of losing pertinent information, then chances are they're not going to trust it and not put any information in. And ultimately, no information, no sale. And obviously latency, delay in downloads. Time is very valuable to people in this fast-paced environment that we live in. So if your site is not responsive and not downloading quick, then obviously they're not going to be able to navigate through it. So they're going to go elsewhere. So that's why those factors of latency and navigability and confidence in a website security relates to overall being successful and actually selling, your goods or service online, because people want that experience of being able to navigate freely and smoothly while they're shopping. So it makes sense there. So now let's talk about clickstream behavior. We talked about it a little bit from Figure 6.2, if you recall, on the model of online consumer behavior. So what exactly is clickstream behavior? This is going to actually refer to the transaction log that consumers establish as they move about the web. And this is from search engine to a variety of sites, obviously, because we know when we get online, we usually, if we're looking for a good or service, we'll start with the search engine, and ultimately, whatever that search engine populates when we're searching for it, we're going to ultimately click on one of those sites. So we're going to go from a search engine to a variety of sites, and then ultimately it's going to lead us to a single site. We're going to narrow it down and pick what site we want, and then finally it's going to make us a decision to purchase off one of those pages from one of those websites. So that's pretty much what the clickstream behavior is. It's just from the time you get online and start searching in one of those search engines until you ultimately purchase something. Just that audit trail of what all different places you clicked on is your clickstream behavior, which makes sense as the name pretty much gives the actual meaning of it away. So a study of over 10,000 visits to an online wine store found that detailed and general clickstream behavior were as important as customer demographics and prior purchase behavior in predicting a current purchase. So that goes to show you the importance of clickstream behavior in the online retail environment or e-commerce environment. It's just as important as demographics and prior purchase behavior, which we know plays a huge role in people's purchasing decisions and overall even having access to the internet as we discussed earlier. So now what about shoppers? The difference between browsers and buyers. So clickstream analysis shows us that people go online for many different reasons. Obviously, browsers, buyers, whatever it might be. Now, the significance of online browsing for offline purchasing should not be underestimated. So what's that mean here? About 1/3 of all offline retail purchasing is going to be influenced by online product research, blogs, banner ads, and other internet exposure. So obviously, e-commerce is a major conduit and generator of offline commerce. And obviously, the reverse is also true. Online traffic is also driven by offline brands and shopping. So why do we see this here? Why is offline retail purchasing influenced by online product research? Well, maybe a lot of times, I know myself personally, a lot of times I'll get online and look up what product I want or what service I might be interested in and just do my research online. And ultimately, I don't want to make the purchase online because I can't look at it, I can't see it, I can't feel it other than what I just see on that picture. So I might do my research online, and if it's available in a local store, when I get a time or the opportunity to go and check it out in person, then I'll go do that. And if it's available there and I'm happy with it, I'll buy it in the store as opposed to online. So that's just one way of online research leading to offline purchasing. And the same thing on the flip side of that coin, how we talked about online traffic is driven by offline brands and shopping. A lot of times we might be in a store and we see maybe there's a particular brand because we all know, let's say for example shoes we all know, we know in general what size we wear, but a lot of times boots or dress shoes and tennis shoes can vary upon sizing. So a 10 in a boot is not always the same as a 10 in a shoe, and a lot of times a Reebok's 10 isn't the same as a Nike's 10. So maybe we'll be in the store and we'll be trying the shoes on and we say, oh, okay, I do wear a 10 in Nike's, so I know what size I wear now. But I found these shoes for $10 cheaper online, so I'm going to try them on in the store to make sure that that's the size I wear in that brand or that style of a shoe, and then I'll go to where I'm going to get the deal and purchase it online. So that's how we can kind of see the trends in offline stimulating online purchases, while online stuff stimulates offline. So they kind of build upon the two. So traditional print media and television are by far the most powerful media for reaching and engaging consumers with information about new products and directing them to the web. So what consumers shop for and buy online? You can look at online sales as divided roughly into two groups: small ticket and big ticket items. Big ticket items orders can easily be more than $1,000, and a lot of times it consists of computer equipment or consumer electronics, such as like refrigerators or washer and dryer, whatever it might be. So those are your big ticket items. Whereas your small ticket items, the average purchase is typically less than $100, and this can usually include apparel, beauty supplies, office supplies, music, software, videos, toys, whatever it might be. So two groups of online purchasing: small ticket, big ticket items. Got the examples there. Consumers are now much more confident spending online for big ticket items, whereas in the past maybe they weren't as confident because they didn't know, if they were being ripped off by the people, whether people were just trying to take advantage of them to get their information. But as times evolved and these internet insecurities have evolved and gotten stronger and more transparent to the consumers and the users of these services and the internet, people are much more confident on spending online, and not only spending, but spending large amounts of money, because ultimately they can trust these companies. They've got the brand recognition, and they're known. They're tried and true. So people are actually trusting them. So free shipping offered by Amazon and other large retailers has also contributed to consumers buying and many more expensive and large items online, such as air conditionings or, as I said before, microwaves or refrigerators, washers and dryers, whatever it might be. So the free shipping on these big items is also driven these sales online, because we all know shipping is not cheap. So what about intentional acts? How shoppers find vendors online? So given the prevalence of click here banner ads, you would a lot of times would think that people actually just click on those banner ads and just by chance happen to land up on a site and make a purchase. But in all reality, only a tiny percentage of shoppers actually click on the banner ads to find vendors. E-commerce shoppers are highly intentional, and typically they're focused on browsers looking for specific products, companies, or services. So usually they're intentional. They get online, they already know what they want. Chances are they know where they're going to want to buy it from, like Amazon or a Walmart or a Foot Locker or whatever it might be. And if they don't, they're just going to go straight to a search engine, and chances are they're going to get directed to one of these top companies, because they've got their algorithm and their coding fixed to where they're going to be generated into that first page on a Google search engine. So just good thing to know is e-commerce shoppers are highly intentional. Now, why don't more people shop online? So why don't more web users shop online? About 28% of internet users do not buy online. Why not? So Table 6.3 is going to list the major online buyers' concerns of people in the United States. So let's look at Table 6.3, and once again, this is on the bottom of page 218 of the text. So Table 6.3 here, why internet users do not buy online. So first thing here, once again, set up the same as the other tables we've looked at, with the contributing factors being on the left and the percentages on the right. So let's just take a look at a few of these of why internet users do not buy online. They want to see and touch before buying. That was 34% of responding there. Concerns about personal financial information. Delivery costs are too high. Concerns that returns will be hassle. They prefer to research online and then buy in a store, is the example that I gave earlier. No need to buy products online, and they can't speak to a sales assistant in person. So that's just some of the contributing factors of why internet users do not buy online. So obviously the largest factor preventing more people from shopping online is the trust factor. The ultimate fear that the online merchants will cheat you or lose your credit card's information, or even worse, just use your information for their own personal gain. The secondary factors can be summarized as the hassle factors. So like shipping costs, returns, or the inability to touch or feel the product. So the main things here, really why more people don't shop online, is going to be the trust factors and the hassle factors. People just don't trust these companies, or just don't trust the security of them, and they just think it'd be a hassle. They can't touch or feel the product. So even though maybe the shoe's the right size, maybe when you try it on, there's like a knot on the sole that you can feel, so it's just not comfortable. And that's something, whereas if you were out in the store, you could have tried it on and be like, nope, I think this product's just got something wrong with it. I need to try on a different one in the same size. So stuff of that sort. So really just the trust issues and the hassle issues are the main reasons why people don't shop online. Why more people don't shop online. So that's the end of 6.1. Let's move on to 6.2, the digital commerce, marketing, and advertising strategies and tools. So internet marketing has many similarities to and differences from ordinary marketing. The objective of internet marketing is to build customer relationships so that the firm can achieve above average returns. Now, internet marketing is very different from ordinary marketing. And why is this? It's ultimately because the nature of the medium and its capabilities are so different from anything that's really come before. So there's 4 features of internet marketing that's gonna distinguish it from traditional marketing. Internet marketing can be more personalized, participatory, peer-to-peer, and communal. So marketers are learning that the most effective internet marketing has all 4 of these features. So once again, these features are, it's more personalized, participatory, peer-to-peer, and communal. So you want to incorporate all of these and to have the most effective marketing strategy. So the website as a marketing platform, establishing the customer relationship. So a firm's website is a major tool for establishing the initial relationship with the customer. The website is going to perform 4 important functions. These functions consist of establishing the brand identity and consumer expectations, informing and educating the consumer, shaping the consumer experience, and anchoring the brand in an ocean of marketing messages coming from different sources. So the first function of a website is to establish the brand's identity and to act as an anchor for the firm's other web marketing activities. And aside from branding, websites also perform typical functions of any commercial establishment by informing customers of the company's products and services. Now, websites, with their online catalogs and associated shopping carts, are important elements of the online customer experience. So what is the customer experience? The customer experience refers to the totality of experiences that a customer has with a firm. And this includes the search, the informing, the purchase, the consumption, and after-sales support for the product. So the customer experience is just referring to the total experience that the customer gets from not only searching you are using your internet's web page or your mobile platform, but ultimately just everything. The purchase, the consumption, after sales support of product is also the customer's experience. And as we've talked about before, really, in trying to build a brand name or maintain a brand name or gain market share, or really just the best form of advertisement really is word of mouth or the customer's experience. Ultimately, the customer's experience is what's going to determine whether they come back or not. I shared a video with Warren Buffett in my experiential entrepreneurship class, and he spoke about just the value that these firms can provide to the customer's experiences, and how ultimately this is one of the most important factors in whether a customer is going to come back. And he's a very intelligent and very successful entrepreneur / investor, and if anyone would know of what it takes to be successful, then he would. And he really just focused on his speech that he gave at a small business summit, just really the importance of just that customer satisfaction and that customer experience is what's ultimately gonna drive your success. And another person that we looked at in that class was Jeff Bezos, the inventor and creator and CEO of Amazon. And his thing that he said too was based upon that customer experience, the way that he shapes his business models and revenue models, and worrying about his next move is not based upon his competition, which most people do. His is based upon the customer's needs. So these are 2 very influential and successful people, and they've even said and went to great extents to just show the importance of that customer experience and that customer's feelings towards these companies. So really that is a huge factor in entrepreneurship, and whether it be in e-commerce or just whatever form of a business you're trying to start, really just remember that customer's experience is huge. This is all that I have for material for today. We will pick up on Monday on page 220, the online marketing and advertising tools. And once again, as I said at the beginning of class, we have the midterms are due on Monday. Obviously, you will not be receiving one if you do not have a D or an F. So if you have a D or an F, you'll receive a midterm. If you do not, you will not receive one. So if you have an A, B, or C in the course, you will not receive a midterm. Only if you have a D or an F. Once again, I will have all grades All grades available for all the assignments that we've completed in this course, including the midterm exam, will be up and posted um, in Moodle over the weekend, probably on Sunday at the latest Monday morning. But my goal is by Sunday to have everything in and uploaded so you can see where you're at in the class. Once again, let's just take a look here at our webpage. So where are we at here? So don't forget we have Chapter 5 homework is going to be due this week. And the website reflection paper is also going to be due this week. So make sure to get those two assignments in this week. That's very important. And then as we can see here, next week we'll move forward. This paper's actually due this week. The e-commerce, social media, websites, reflection paper is due next week, and Chapter 5 homework is due this week. I believe it was already actually due, actually. So make sure that those are in, and read Chapter 6. And like I said, on Monday we will continue on with Chapter 6 on page 220, the online marketing and advertising tool. And I will also post Chapter 6 homework, hopefully over the weekend, if not some point next week, so you can get started on that as well. Thank you again, everyone, for all your time, and I will see everyone on Monday. Everyone have a good weekend.